But I'm here at Illinois Institute of Technology, and this is State Street, and I'm going to go straight down East 35th, not West 35th, but East 35th. And I'm going to head down, and you'll see, and now here's De La Salle right next to it, but you'll see how close it's to the lakefront. And so students going to the Illinois Institute of Technology, they could have a shuttle bus that runs them to the lakefront. And there's all kinds of lakefront experiences they can have, but this whole community around here would have to get revitalized for Illinois Institute of Technology. If they're going to build out their campus life, this whole street, this area, truly needs to come alive. They really need to build out this Bronzeville area so the institution can thrive. And so they have to somehow revitalize it, make it nicer, make it more thriving. And so I'm not saying replace the businesses. I'm saying figure out how to beautify the area to make it incredibly better. There's a beautiful mall right down the street. Well, not a beautiful mall, a mall down the street, but right here, Lake Meadows. This is the Lake Meadows Plaza or the Lake Meadows Mall. And they can build out this mall, and this is all part of the Illinois Institute of Technology. So the campus is growing by 35% in emissions and everything. And so all these storefronts and everything, you can build out the campus life. And yes, they have to have restaurants and they have to have nightclubs and bars. And right down at the end of here, and this is also what can do outreach. Rolling, yes, there's several high schools and elementary schools right along 35th, East 35th, but also right down here is the Cardinals' residence. And what are they doing with outreach to Illinois Institute of Technology? So I don't understand. You have Sixth Grace Presbyterian Church right here. And what is it doing with outreach to the students? Jen went to church when she was at the University of Illinois, and she went to a local church in the town, I think Urbana or in Champaign. But here's Cardinal Myers. Here's the Cardinal Myers Center and Archdiocese of Chicago. And they have this beautiful bridge, and this bridge goes right out onto the lake. It's awesome. And so now we have Pope Leo that I've been hearing so much about. Well, that's great. Great for Chicago. Pope Leo. Okay. Well, then how is he going to improve the outreach? And what is the Archdiocese and the Presbyterian Church over here? Same. There's lots of students on campus, and they can get a campus connection with the Illinois Institute of Technology. Let's go in reverse with the video. Now I'm going from where the lakefront is back to Illinois Institute of Technology. And we're going by Lake Meadows Apartments. That's right next to Lake Meadows Plaza or Mall. And they really need to revitalize this. And if they're going to move the Bears Stadium over here to Michael Reese, okay. So I'm wondering, are they in some way or shape or form, Illinois Institute of Technology needs to expand. And you could move it over to the Michael Reese. That's another option as well, and keep the Sox where they are. But again, they have to make these decisions, and this whole area would boom. And that means all the black residents have an incredibly bright future in front of them in this area, and they get to build out their small businesses and build out this area. But people can't be scared of black people. They can't think, I'm going to see these black kids walking and I'm going to get mugged, or I'm going to get shot. And Ro Khan used to talk about that all the time. That's why UIC, and he used to talk on the radio, didn't expand, because it's a very good school, but also people don't want to go to school where they fear for their life. So here's the Urban Beauty Academy, and there's a lot of college students, they're growing their hair very fast. They need to get a lot of haircuts. But people have to see black people as safe and friendly. They're doing a very big disservice to themselves by this thug mentality. And this is why they're at the bottom. Even Hispanics people aren't as scared like they are of black people, because all you see is the negativity on the news, and then you hear about all the gunshots and the gangs and everything else. Well, it's very hard for a university. Here, it's the Episcopal, Indiana Avenue, Episcopal Church of God. There's lots of students at the Illinois Institute of Technology, and as that grows, they can have lots of student populations. I know lots of students that didn't live in Tucson but went to church at the church on campus at the University of Arizona and went to churches around it. And Jen, she went to church all 4 years when she was at the University of Illinois. She found the local church. Now, I wish I was talking to her and she could preach on that and her experience, but she did it on her own, seeking it out. And that's what I loved about her as well. But here, Providence Trust and Bank, they can reach out to the college students. De La Salle, they can have all kinds of summer programs at Illinois Institute of Technology in the STEMS field and others to enhance them, but they can have baseball camp and wrestling camp. And the college kids, they get to work in the program to teach the younger kids, and they can sign up for these athletic camps. So, again, here's the train stop, the Bronzeville train stop. And we're right back at here at Illinois Institute of Technology. And let me go by the sign again, just to emphasize it. And so, I don't understand. Why do black people want to see themselves as bums and gangbangers and thugs and so on? When are they going to move past that identity? Beyonce doesn't have that identity. Jay-Z doesn't have that identity. They're a married couple that's thriving, and they have a very good identity as a black couple. And they have a very good marriage so far, I saw. And Beyonce, I mean, she's doing the cowboy thing now, and she looks very beautiful. And so she's diversifying her music portfolio. But here is the campus. And it needs to expand. And it needs to beautify and everything. And so I don't understand. Here's the Janine and John Rowe Village. And so this is the visitor center and everything for the campus. And it's 33rd Street. But again, this is where I experienced Teach America. Here's the McCormick Tribune Campus Center. And I've been into the Campus Center. When I first met with a tutor who went to UIC, she was an Indian girl. and she was tutoring me when I was going to the University of Chicago for mathematics. And then I was helping her with her resume to find a job. She found the job. We haven't talked in a while, but she was an Indian girl. She was very bright, and she was assisting me doing mathematics. And so I asked my teacher. He has a PhD in mathematics, and I said I need somebody, and he recommended me to her. And so I spent a lot of time with this Indian girl studying, mathematics. She was getting me back up to speed. I've had a lot of advanced mathematics, but I needed to brush off the rust. And I did fine in the course. I should have did a lot better, but still, I did fine. I could have done exceptional, but it wasn't the only thing I was doing. I was doing my CFP and many other things simultaneously besides working all the time. But that was fine. But the whole point of it is that this needs to expand. And so I don't understand. It would be incredible for the community. And talk about changing the image of the black community in Chicago from a negative, where look at Martin Luther King Jr. and look at how he dressed. Look at how he talked. Look at how he carried himself. He was in suits. He was in ties. He spoke well, was clean shaven and everything. Very educated, very smooth in his presentation and everything, representing the black people very well. So wouldn't that be a good image for them? Even in Ghana, they have Freedom Square dedicated to Martin Luther King Jr. because he went up there and had the I Have a Dream speech. And I was there in Ghana at the Freedom Center. And so isn't that the image that black people want? I would hope so. I don't know for a fact, but it would seem like that would be the right image for them. And so I don't understand why they wouldn't want that type of image where people see him as friendly and welcoming and so on. The people in Ghana were very loving and welcoming. I was with a whole group of white people, and they felt at home, felt very welcome. People were awesome to us. So why would they want this negative image of them with all the black bums and gangbangers and all this negativity? Why would they want that? Where they could build out these systems like University of Chicago needs to grow, and they want to invest huge money, and that goes into the community around them, which most of the people that own real estate there are black. Around Illinois Institute of Technology, most of the people are black. Lots of people around the University of Illinois Chicago, most of the people are black. And so they have a very big real estate play, and I don't know and understand the black community. I don't understand the black church. I don't understand. I used to talk to black realtors and that. And I don't understand why wouldn't they want to bring their community forward into a better light, into a better environment? Why wouldn't black people want to be seen as sophisticated and educated and so on? Like, I got the black guys who were on YouTube that were talking about planetary alignments and so on. And I had one teacher at the University of Arizona that was black. He was the only black teacher in the economics department, but he taught econometrics, which is mathematically driven. And me and him got along very well. And he was the one who taught me about, how people can lie with data. And then Mark Melbroom emphasized it again. But again, he was a black teacher, and he liked being at the University of Arizona. He was well received. and he taught a course on econometrics, and his major was econometrics. And so it's a very tough field, econometrics. So he was a very bright black man. So again, it's not that they can't. He did, and he was doing very well. And so he had no problems, and all his students, basically, all his students were all white. Truly, all his students were all white, because none of the black athletes, and any of them, were in the economics program. That they didn't choose economics. They could have, but they didn't. But he was a black teacher, and I forget where he came from, but he came from a prominent institution. So he had to come from Ivy League or Stanford or some exceptional institution, because they wouldn't have taken him into the economics department. They were trying to strive and move it up in ways. The economics department is top 50 in the United States. In other areas, it was, I think, in top 30, and then some areas it was in the top few. I think in experimental economics, in some areas, that was one of the best in the United States and the world. But again, I don't understand why they wouldn't want to be seen in that type of light than some gangbanger. Now, I understand for the movies, but that was then, this is now. So that's all for entertainment purposes, but in reality, that doesn't exist. So you have Star Wars. In reality, that doesn't exist. You have Star Trek. In reality, that doesn't exist. Sometime in the future, there'll be, but I don't believe there'll be Star Wars. Or these things. I think it'll be more like Star Trek, where they go out and engage with communities and so on and so on. I like that's, and it's nice bringing these trade wars and so on. It's entertaining, but the whole point is that it doesn't exist. So you can make all kinds of pieces. It doesn't exist. Dexter doesn't exist. There is no Dexter. It's not based on any serial killer. So, again, I don't know why they want this negative stigma and why they can't move into a positive light and move into this positive community. Like Kimmy, I used to hang out with, and she's a black girl, and she used to live here in Chicago. She was at the Aon building, and she was all against, believe me, she was all over STDs. And she would get herself checked all the time, making sure she didn't have STDs. And so she could be a huge advocate in the black community for trying to wipe out sexually transmitted diseases amongst black people. And she had a little card she showed me that certified her as, not having STDs. And we used to go to the Aon building, and she networked and everybody. And she was part of the club at the Aon building. There's a private restaurant in that, and I met the people that ran the organization, the private dining room, and my other friend Jack in that, and we sit at the table for different functions, and she was a part of the networking club. And she is basically one of the few black people, and the whole room was mostly all white, but there was no racial problems or racial tensions. She never had any issues, ever had any issues. And she liked it, but she moved back, I think, to Georgia or somewhere for some reason. I forget. Not because she didn't like Chicago, but again, the whole point is I see things in a different experience, And I see these intertwining in a positive light, and I don't understand why they don't want to move their community like the black people I'm around. Like a black guy who I met through Rocky had a store on Oak Street, and it was a high-end suit store. And he sold a lot to the basketball players and that, professional athletes, but he sold couture and very high-end suits and ties and shoes and so on. And he was very well dressed. And my other friend started the Gospel Brunch. He's a black guy, and he started the Gospel Brunch at the House of Blues. And he used to run a thing at the Wit Hotel. And I introduced him to Jen. I haven't seen him in a long time, but he was in the club industry, and he used to run a thing, and people lined up at the Wit Hotel, and he was running some kind of, club scene and, rooftop at the Wit Hotel. And then he was doing the Gospel Brunch at the House of Blues. But these are all positive things. So I have all these individuals doing all these positive things, and then my other black guy I met with, he was a CFP, and he taught at Robert Morris College. And I met him years ago, and he taught finance at Robert Morris College. So I don't understand. They want to see black people in the same light as themselves, and I don't understand what the community is doing, because it's driving me crazy. So why don't they aspire and be biblically based and seek excellence? Here's Robert Morris, and I'm wondering what that school is doing. How is it expanding? It's right across the street from, another prominent black guy here, Harold Washington Library. And the funny thing is, I did like him as mayor, but he was a person who was able to bridge the gap between black and white. That's why I liked Harold Washington. He reached across the aisle, and he got lots of the white vote. That's how he got in office. It wasn't black vote that got him. Black people didn't really vote back then. They didn't show up at the polls, and he had no ability to get black people out. He got elected, as you see the library here, he got elected by white people. White people really liked him. Just like Nelson Mandela. What do you think happened in South Africa? They really liked Nelson Mandela. And white people really liked him and really trusted him. It was really bad when he died. But they saw him as extremely positive. Things went south when he died. But the whole point is that white people really liked him, really trusted him, and he was bridging the gap between black and white, like Martin Luther King talked about. And Reverend Tutu in Africa, or Bishop Tutu, I think, or maybe he's a Cardinal Tutu. I don't know if he's still alive, but he's awesome, and I followed him all the years. But it's the same thing. They're not thugs. They're prominent, well-educated, very sophisticated, and they see black people, and they want black people to be seen in this positive light. Even the Obamas, they went to Harvard. And I forget where Condoleezza Rice went to, but I supported her for president. But I watched her over those years, she worked very well with George Bush. Incredibly well with George Bush. So she could have gotten a significant portion of the white vote. So, again, very prominent. And Clarence Thomas, he got put in office by a Republican. He was a conservative. The white vote put Clarence Thomas in office. Clarence Thomas became a Supreme Court justice. He was a Republican. It was white people that put him in office. So again, these people were able to bridge across the aisle like Martin Luther King Jr. talked about when he talked about white and black people moving together in a positive atmosphere. And he ended up, these people did the right thing, and they're able to reach across the aisle. And when I say that, I'm talking the racial aisle. And they're bridging the gap, and there is no talk about racism. There's a talk about community and coming together as one people. One nation united under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's talking about coming together as a people. But again, I'm down here in the theater district, and ABC is right here, and they have no one that goes to any of these theaters. Now, Tracy does something on cooking. She does weather, but she does on cooking, but no one does the theater district. Now, Dean, but WGN isn't in the theater district. And they could have baseball plays here or a football play. Truly, it's right across the street from ESPN. So here's ESPN, and you're in the theater district. And then you have the Witt Hotel right here, which I love this hotel. I went into it right after it was built. And the Indian guy, he installed the technology, used to be on my Facebook, and he does all this technology for spas. He builds software, and he was here, and we hung out for a while, and he builds out software for spas, for hair salons and spas, and that's all he does is build out that software. And he was doing it for the spa that's inside the Witt, but there's no advertising for the spa. You don't see anything at the street level here talking about you can get your hair cut and you can go up. You don't have to be a guest to use the spa. So, again, and this is where my friend promoted at the Witt on the roof, and they used to show movies all the time. I watched, I think, Star Wars up there one evening, and they used to do the movies on the rooftop. But again, and the line used to go down this street, and I took Jen here to meet him. So he knows Jen, and Jen knows him. And here's Harold Washington College, which I never knew it was here. And actually, I don't even know if remember a Harold. But, point is, that's good. How's it integrated with the library? But what I'm going to do a lap around is the theater district. So, and here's where my friend Fawn went, the Elephant and Castle, and her boyfriend, husband, is Damon, and he's a black bartender. He was awesome, and he worked at the Peninsula, and she managed here at this place. I don't know where she is anymore. They used to work with me at Joey Bono's. Now, they were always good to me, and I've never ran into any problem with either of them. Truly, Fawn hired me. And she was dating Damon, who was a bartender, and his nickname was Chocolate Thunder. He was a black guy, and he nicknamed himself Chocolate Thunder. In a positive way. He used to make a lot of chocolate martinis. Truly, chocolate martinis. And he went to work at the Peninsula after Joey shut down. Here's the old Marshall Fields, which is now Macy's. And so you got the Jaffe Ballet. Again, ABC is right here. And Windy City does nothing with the theaters. You have Val that has her and her partner, Ryan, Windy City, and they don't really promote the theater district. And here's the shops at 37th Place, Block 37 project. It was supposed to reinvigorate State Street. The Nederlander Theater. And then you have the Cadillac Palace. And there's, where is it? The Goodman Theater. So, and then you have the Picasso over there. And that's part of Chicago, has several Picassos, which they'll just keep on going up in value. Pablo, great man, lots of respect. And Google is opening up right in the theater district. They took over this building from the state of Illinois, right across the street from City Hall. And City Hall, right here in the theater district. And this is a classic building, and it has the green rooftop. You think they would be inspiring, making Chicago more green. And here, these signs right here, and they can promote different things, like United Airlines is Chicago very own. And then we have a very big base for Southwest Airlines at Midway. Truly, Southwest, one of its biggest bases outside of Phoenix, is here, Chicago. So you have the theater district, and this is where I saw The Lion King. It was awesome. The Disney presentation. That's ABC, ESPN. They're owned by Disney. And we saw it right here, The Lion King. And it was awesome. I was so impressed. Lots of black performers. And this is a nice hotel. I've never stayed here. I've only dropped off bags when I did luggage service. The Allegro Hotel. But this is all in the theater district. And you can come down and experience all this. But what's next to the theater district, and the thing they don't talk about theaters, and you go right up here, and you get Franklin, and on the other side of Franklin, Ben Franklin, you got the Sears Tower, but you have on the other side is Wacker Drive. Right on the other side of that bridge is the financial district, right on top of the theater district. But, the financial district is part of the theater district. Why is that? The Lyric Opera. That's musical theater. It's theater. It's musical theater. The Lyric Opera is part of the theater district. And so Wacker Drive all the way up to State is all part of the theater district. And then on Michigan Avenue, right there, is the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. And the orchestra can play at the Lyric Opera House because they have an orchestra pit at the Lyric Opera. And so the Chicago Symphony can have members that, depending on what the opera is, that play there. But they can have an opera pit and have opera players play for any theatrical performance. And they can integrate live music into any theatrical performance. It's just not opera. So let me take you by the Lyric Opera House. And so they don't understand this in theaters, the theatrical district, that they can actually have a live orchestra and it's recessed, but they can do the theater just like this, and they can create their own music pieces, their own scores, and they play it there live, and they can have a live singer right in the opera pit. So, right in the music pit. In the opera, they sing on stage, and you don't see the musicians, but in the theater district, they can, while they're doing the play and they have music, and they can have background music, and they play in the music pit, they can have somebody singing live in there, and the music is all live at the play. None of it's recorded. It's all done live. So here's the Lyric Opera, and it's here right in the financial district. So I don't understand the mayor. Truly. And so this is all about Choose Chicago, and here's the CME group. And you got the world-class Sears Tower. And, You got the Lyric Opera, which is a historical building. It is. They need to revitalize outside, freshen it up. But again, it's beautiful. I've been to the opera, and I don't understand. So you can integrate this live music into theatrical plays. And that means they can have bands and singers. They can even integrate DJs into the theatrical plays. A DJ can spin and do live mix. Maybe it's West Side Story or something. You know, that type of musical. But I'm saying they can do something modern age, like Grease, and they can have a DJ there spinning, but there's live music being sung on stage. And you can have Grease at the Lyric Opera. You can have Grease at the Lyric Opera. And they have a live music pit, and then they sing. There's a lot of song and dance. And so they can have it at the Lyric Opera. So, again, I don't understand really what's going on with this city and why the mayor, it should be an exciting day every day in the city of Chicago, in Cook County, the state of Illinois. People should be really excited to live here. Truly excited to live here. Not ghetto. No more ghetto, but excited to live here. And there should be these amazing things going on. And I really hold the mayor accountable because he's running this and he seems not to be doing the right things and not being inspiring people and moving them forward in the right way. And so I don't understand this. And here's the Italian Village. My friend, he owned this place, and I haven't talked to him. He was on my Facebook a long time, but he would get slam packed. And this coffee house, my friend Jory Cheelan had an office right over here, and this is where I met Julie Cho one summer, and we went over to talk about this opportunity that we were going to do with working with Lurie's Children and other children's hospitals. But anyways, this is where I saw her in their jean shorts and truly cut off jean shorts and tight shirts. She was beautiful. But I was bringing her over with Jory to build out this opportunity, and she took a pass on it. And I wish she wouldn't have taken a pass on it because it was a great opportunity. And Jory was all in. I was all in. All we needed to her, because she didn't go, I didn't move forward. And so me and Jory never did it. And I wanted her, and she didn't move forward. And it was an incredible opportunity. And you have two of us. And now Julie is an Asian Korean female, and it was a great opportunity, and she took a pass. And I still to this day, why she took a pass boggles my mind. It was a great opportunity. Here's the Italian Village. But here's the other theater that's in Chicago. And I'm not really familiar with this one. But again, I know they had Hamilton at one time. And so this is the CIBC Theater, which I don't know what it stands for, but it's all part of the theater district. And this can be an incredible, and if you revitalize the theater district, you revitalize State Street. And if you revitalize State Street, Michigan Avenue becomes more prominent. So it has this knock-on effect. And they've been trying forever to revitalize State Street, but State Street's never made a connection to the financial on Wacker Drive, never made a connection to the theater district. And here we are on State Street, and you have all these empty places in that, and they've been constantly trying to revitalize it. But you have ABC News, ESPN right down the street. You have all the theater district. You have the financial district and the Lyric Opera. And here, I'll go by the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, which is right on the other side of State Street, 2 streets over. And you have the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. And so